Gothic books, broken hearts, and goblins? Oh my! That is not just three random things strung together. I mean, it is, but also, those are three kinds of books on my TBR. And I can't wait to talk about those and much more. So stay tuned and let's get into my February TBR. You know, TBR videos are like my favorite, so I'm hyped!
Engage.
Welcome back, fellow freaks, geeks, and nostalgic peeps, to my channel, Kelsey's Nostalgic Life, where, yeah, we talk about everything from 80s and 90s nostalgia to books and movies, especially some horror books and movies, but lots of other genres too, and lots of everything else, so lots of stuff in between. Today's video, though, it is another book-themed video, and it's literally, besides a book haul, it is my favorite book-themed video, and that is a TBR video. I love a good TBR, and it's because I love a good list. I'm a planner at heart, and a TBR really speaks to my planning, loving heart. So, speaking of hearts, February is also the month of Valentine's Day. Get out of here, we don't care about you, traditional Valentine's Day. So I've got some, like, alternative Valentine Day reads on my TBR. I can't wait to talk about those. But before I get into that, I am participating in 3 different readathons. Not 6, 3 plus 3. 3 different readathons, and I'm really excited about each one of them. I'm going to go from the shortest to the other 2 that are month-long. So the shortest, we'll start off with The Wasted Weekend, hosted by Ollie over at Criminale. And this is just a weekend-long event, and the only prompt or thing you should do is read trash. And I'm so excited about this event, and I have something perfect picked out for it. Next up, we've got the I Love Black Horror Readathon, hosted by My Bookish Life with Kelsweetie, aka hosted by Kelsey. Not me, Kelsey, but another Kelsey. She's fantastic. She's an amazing artist. She has an awesome Instagram page, along with her BookTube channel, so please check her out. I will link her announcement video / TBR video for February down below. And I Love Black Horror, there's really one rule: read black horror. And I've got something picked out on my TBR for that, too. And last but not least, my best friend's event, Kat from Kat's Novel Adventures, is once again hosting the month-long Folklore February, where the idea is to just read folk tales, fairy tales, tall tales, anything kind of based on those types of things, or mythology. And you could read, you could watch, you could do activities, she's got prompts, or you could just read whatevs. I've got stuff picked out for that event too, so it is going to be a blast. Those 3 events are going to be amazing. I will link all announcement videos down below, and I really highly suggest that you join me in participating, because 1, it supports other creators, and 2, you're going to be having fun doing prompts, or just reading along with a theme, and 3, you'll be freaking probably finding out about some badass books from other people who are also participating in these events in the communities. So I am so excited. Let's get into the TBR, and I'll point out which books are for which things and which things are random. So without further ado, my first book I want to talk about is my book club book. If you guys didn't know, I run a free and public book club and film club, and you could participate in the book element, you could participate in the film club element, or both. Each of those clubs, it's kind of in one, but each of those are talked about on my public and free Discord, which is linked below, and we've got areas to talk about each book for every month, and we've got areas to talk about each film for every month. For February, my book club read for the Midnight Book Society is dun-dun-dun-dun! This is the Gothic book I teased in the intro. It is Wakenhurst by Michelle Paver. I think I'm saying her last name right. I don't know, but I read Dark Matter by this author not in 2025, but in 2024, and I loved it. So atmospheric, super slow burn. I know her writing style is beautiful and descriptive, and I cannot wait to read another book by her. And this one has gothic vibes. I think it could have vibes that would fit with Folklore February as well. Regardless, it's definitely going to be a fun read. Essentially, it takes place back in 1906, and the blurb says, because the description is super long, and I don't want to give too much away from reading the description on Goodreads, but the blurb says, Wakenhurst is a terrifying ghost story, an atmospheric slice of gothic, a brilliant exploration of the boundaries between the real and the supernatural, and a descent into the mind of a psychopath. Hell yeah, sign me up, especially the mind of a psychopath. But again, all with beautiful language, because knowing this author's writing style, I'm really excited about how this is going to read specifically. And if you're wondering what my film club film for February will be, it will be Cinema Paradiso. And that is going to be an awesome discussion, I think. Now, the discussion for both Wakenhurst and Cinema Paradiso will be at the beginning of March, so stay tuned. Official dates will be announced at a future time. Next up, I actually didn't get to talk about this fun goal of mine for 2026 because I didn't do a January TBR, so you guys didn't know that I did this in January. But one of my goals for 2026 is to spin a special wheel that I made, and it's an online spinner wheel, but it is a wheel from hell. And it's filled with paperbacks from hell, so old school vintage books. The whole goal of it is to read vintage books that have been on my radar that I want to read, and especially vintage books that I own. Look behind me. Vintage books everywhere. I need to read some of these. So the goal is to just be reading more paperbacks from hell because my collection is huge. You can see the numerous books all behind me. I've got a lot of vintage middle grade, but I think I have even more vintage horror adult paperbacks, aka paperbacks from hell. Of course, that is a term coined by author Grady Hendrix, who authored a book called Paperbacks from Hell, and it's a nonfiction book all about the paperback boom, the horror paperback boom from the late 70s, 80s, and into the 90s. So I have collected so many of these, and it's time to start reading them. So my little handy dandy Wheel from Hell has been very fun. I spun it for January, and I got a book called XY, and I did read it. So I also, I don't know, 2 weeks ago spun the wheel for what my February random book would be from hell. And I'm happy to reveal that the wheel chose for me Rest in Peace. Look at this great cover. It's like a vamp in a freaking graveyard. And I love how RIP, RIP, the initials are big, and then it's got smaller words to finish out the rest of the meaning of RIP. Rest in peace. And this is by Jack McLean, and it says,
out of the mouths of babes, into the jaws of terror.
I don't know why that made me laugh. I'm sorry, the way I slowly bit. Let's look at the back.
An evil secret. Danny West knew that something was wrong from the first day his folks moved into the rundown house next to the creepy graveyard. The neighborhood kids would never come over to play. At night, he saw weird shadows prowling around the crumbling tombstones, and he heard strange gurgling sounds. But his parents wouldn't listen to him. They said he had a good imagination. Generations of terror. Then bad things started to happen, terrible, gruesome things that even scared his dad. There was something in the graveyard, something that no kid ever could have imagined, something that should have been left alone to rest in peace.
I'm guessing it's a vampire, because I think this is a vampire, but it could just be a murderer. I don't know. Anyway, excited about this. I didn't have a hit with XY, so hopefully the wheel does me good for February, and this is a fun read. We'll see. Alright, and next book is also a random vintage horror paperback. I should be doing a buddy read with my friend Alex over at the channel, The Bookubus. I will link her channel below. She's fantastic. She has read even more vintage horror paperbacks than me. Highly suggest her channel, especially if you like horror of any era, but especially vintage horror. She's the queen of vintage horror, in my opinion. Way more than me. I love her. And I love doing buddy reads with her. She's my favorite person to buddy read with. We usually send voice messages back and forth on our phones. It made it seem like I'm doing a walkie-talkie. It feels like we're using walkie-talkies because we use the, what is it called? What's that freaking app called? The Voxer app? Anyway, it's really fun to send voice messages about what we think about whatever we're buddy reading, and this time we're going to be We're going to be buddy reading Goblins. I'm tongue twisted. I'm so excited. So this is by Vincent Courtney, and I hear this author's really cool. One of my Patreon members said that she wrote a letter to him in, I think, elementary school or middle school, and that he actually answered back because he was a local author. So cool. I thought that was just a very cool story. So, this cover is amazing, but also the fun thing about this is not only am I going to be buddy reading with Alex, but Alex is the reason I own it because she gifted this to me a couple of years ago. So thank you, Alex. One, for wanting to buddy read it with me, but also for gifting me this copy because I love this freaking cover. Look at this dude. He's got really long nails. Alright, it says,
There was something wrong with Martin's baby. It lived. The fear is growing. From the moment he saw the ancient castle rising out of the picturesque Scottish countryside, filmmaker Dan Martin knew he'd found the ideal locale for his vampire horror movie, and nothing could make him leave. Not the eerie legends of the soul-stealing beasts of the night, nor a bizarre series of freak accidents. Not even his pregnant wife's tragic miscarriage.
you ass? Come on. Anyway.
The terror is born, except that now there is another fetus growing in Vicky's womb, but little Darian is not going to be a normal baby. The Martins' adopted 5-year-old son Marty will soon find that out. In fact, Marty will soon know exactly what his new brother really is. ...
And then it just says goblins at the bottom. Is he a goblin? How does she have a baby goblin? Anyway, I'm very excited about this. I think it's gonna be bonkers and wild and ridiculous. I hope that would be the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, it's boring, but I'm hoping it's not that. So, can't wait. Again, I know this one's random, but it could fit in with Folklore February. If it has any kind of fairy tale elements in it, or mythological elements. I can't talk. Yeah, we got some random books to start off with, but I'm still hyped. Moving on, now I want to talk about the main book I'm hoping to get to for Folklore February, and this would be, it's a classic, The Wizard of Oz. I am so hyped. I've never read The Wizard of Oz. I'm a big fan of the movie, and I might be seeing the movie in a really cool place and in a really cool way in March, so it would be amazing to read the book in February, and also it just fits with Folklore February so well. And I do not own a physical copy, but there is audio available. But look at these other cool old school copies I have of other books in the Oz series. Here is Ozma of Oz. I got these when I was visiting my friend's Cameron, and Cameron's at the Channel Library Macabre, and also my friend Benjamin. And they found these on the shelves and they were like, Kelsey, do you want to start reading and collecting Oz books? And I looked at these covers and I said, well, hell yeah, I guess so. So I don't have the first book, but I do have these. This is number 14, Glinda, like Glinda the Good Witch, Glinda of Oz. Look at how pretty the colors of that one are. And finally, oh, I did these out of order. Book 7, The Patchwork Girl of Oz. And what a great cover. Let me unfocus so I could zoom in on some of these. Look how amazing that artwork is. Look at that. Really lovely. Here's a close-up of the other two. Oh, look at his little bow. I'm guessing that's the Cowardly Lion, maybe. Alright, sorry for that sidebar, and I'm not going to go into the description because everybody, well, almost everybody, I'm assuming, knows the story of The Wizard of Oz, and I'm betting the book is a little bit different than the movie, and that's okay, and I cannot wait to read it and find that out for myself, for first-hand account, we'll see. But yes, that should be my #1 priority for Folklore February. It will be very, very much appropriate, and if you've already read it, let me know how you feel about The Wizard of Oz, because I'm really interested to know how people feel about the book since the movie is so beloved. I'm guessing a lot of people love the book too, but I just don't know a lot of people other than my friend Cameron who knows and loves the book so much. Now on to my main priority for the I Love Black Horror Readathon, and that is The Between by Tananarive Due. And I have already read a book by Tananarive Due and have loved it, and that was The Good House. It was fantastic. It was long, but it was so well written, very atmospheric, and I think this is like, is this a possession story? I can't remember, but I've heard amazing things about this book. It's one of her older books, and so is The Good House, but I know everyone's read The Reformatory. I do want to read that one day, but this one has been on my shelves for years, and it's time I get to it. I probably will dip into other books for that readathon, by the way, not just this one, but this is my main priority and the one that is officially on my TBR. If I get to anything else, great. I would love that, but if I at least get to this one, I will feel good, like I participated, and also that I got a book that's been on my TBR for years accomplished. So we will see, but cross your fingers for me. I really need to get to this. I've heard so many amazing things about it. Okay, and that brings me to what I want to read for my last event I'll be participating in, the Wasted Weekend. And this year, the Wasted Weekend takes place over Valentine's Day weekend. It's going to be great. So for this one, I'm excited because I've been doing a theme every year for the Wasted Weekend. It's always in February, the Wasted Weekend. So the first Wasted Weekend I ever participated in, I believe I read Flowers in the Attic. So that was so much fun. Then last year for the Wasted Weekend, I read the second book in the Flowers in the Attic series, and that book was Petals on the Wind. It was even better. I mean, I really love Flowers in the Attic, but Petals on the Wind kind of went balls to the wall with the drama. All of the books, by the way, if you don't know, it's called the Dollinger series, and they all have drama. All of them. So I'm so excited for the third book, which is going to be my main pick for the Wasted Weekend for this year, and that is If There Be Thorns. And I have no doubt this will be also filled with drama. I'm not going to go into details because, again, this is the third book in a series. If I give you any kind of synopsis, it's going to spoil things from previous books. But if you've not read Flowers in the Attic, at least, that one's great. Lots of angst. It's a very slow burn, but it has atmosphere and gothic vibes. And, as I said, drama. Anyway, that will be what I'm reading. Another recent goal for 2026 of mine that I just wrote down and decided upon, I want to read at least 10 middle grade books from my shelves during 2026, which should be really doable. It would even be better if they were all vintage middle grade, because I have so many. All of these right here are vintage middle grade, and there's like double stacked or maybe even triple stacked in some cases. There's some where you can't see down here below on the shelves, but yeah, I have so much vintage middle grade, and most of it is unread, like 99.9% of it. So I've picked out some for this month, and I hope to keep picking out some every month and hopefully get to at least one, but if not one a month, then 10 overall. Then my other big goal is to read at least 6 YA books from my shelves, and again, any YA is fine, but it'd be better if it was vintage YA. So to keep with those goals, I actually have thematic Valentine's Day books for both kinds of books picked out. So vintage middle grade, vintage YA, and this would be great towards accomplishing my 2 goals. And let's just go through, all of these are Valentine's Day themed, but especially the vintage YA is dark stuff, like, you know, murder and lost love and whatever. It's not your, like, traditional, love. No, get out of here. All right, so first up, we've got Broken Hearts. This has been on like 3 other TBRs of mine. I gotta get to it. Also, there's audio available on YouTube for free, so there's no excuse, and I own it. I gotta get to it. Valentine's Day can be a killer. Anyway, should have stabbed, not done like whatever. Next up, a Terror Academy book. These books can be rare. I was recommended this one by my friend Amanda. She's a Patreon member, and she has great taste when it comes to vintage books. So she suggested I read Boy Crazy, and it just feels appropriate for February, for Valentine's. So it says, love is blind, revenge is sweet. Anyway, this looks so fun, and I've never read any books in the Terror Academy series, even though I have, I'm looking up where my collection is, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have at least 8 of the books. I really need more. I need all of them because all of the covers are incredible, but yeah. This one's gonna be next on the docket, and I hope I can get to it. Alright, then 2 cutie Valentine middle grade vintage books. We've got The Adventures of the Bailey School Kids, number 12, Cupid Doesn't Flip Hamburgers. And I read my first Bailey School Kids book in December of 2025, so not very long ago, like a month and a half ago. It was so cute. I loved it. So I cannot wait to read this thematic one for Valentine's Day. And I know for a fact that Cameron loves this one, so I can't wait. That makes me even more excited. And I was gonna say, that makes me can't wait even more, but that might not make sense. But it just makes me more excited, essentially. And then I also have quite a few Sleepover Friends books, but I have not read any of them. This is why I need to read more of my vintage middle grade, especially ones that aren't even spooky like these two. So this one is a Valentine for Patty. Who is Patty's secret Valentine, says the tagline. And this is number 32, and all of the Sleepover Friends covers are incredible. Look, they're making cute little Valentines. They're like cutting stuff out. It's so cute. Anyway, can't wait to read it. So excited. And if I read all four of these books, these vintage books, then I'm well on my way to making good progress on my goals. Alright guys, that's all of the priority books on my TBR. I know it's a very small amount of books and this is kind of a quicker video, but you don't always have to have a 200 book TBR, and I gotta tell myself that. And I'm actually purposefully trying to condense my TBRs this year because in the past I would make them very large and then it gave me wiggle room to pick and choose what I wanted to read from that bigger list. I still like making lists that are bigger and just reading whatever I want from that. But when it comes to a TBR, I feel like it's important for me to have priorities, and that way I can know what to start with. And also because I'm doing so many thematic events, it makes sense to have things that are dedicated for those events and make those a priority. So I could pick up more books for Folklore February. I could pick up more books for the I Love Black Horror Readathon. It just depends on if I have the time, and I definitely have options. In fact, I've got more books I've got more books stacked on my TBR cart. This isn't a physical list that I'm waving around. No, it's on my TBR cart. I have a whole bunch of other books. In fact, actually, I have 9 Terror Academy books because I had one on my cart here, and that is The Prom. But this is just a potential. I don't know if I'm going to get to it. I highly doubt it. But in case I have extra time, I do have my cart, which I could just pull random things off of, which has more vintage middle grade. It has some random adult horror books. So we'll just see what I get to. And I'm excited because I really like the idea of making a smaller TBR and just being surprised if I'm able to get to more, but not disappointed if I don't get to a lot at all, if that makes sense. Before I ask you guys some questions and sign off, I did want to give a fun little fit check. I don't even know what else you would call it, maybe like a vibe check. Here's my outfit for the day. We've got a Rugrats sweatshirt. You got all the cuties. Oh, look at them. And I don't really like dill, but that's neither here nor there. I'm a before Rugrats movie kind of person. I like the seasons before dill. Anyway, we're not going to talk about it. I also have, of course, very thematic earrings for the month of February, since this is the February TBR. You had to deck out with the hearts here. Alright, so that's the vibes that are going on right now, but again, that's all the books I had to talk about. So before we sign off, have you read any of the books on my TBR? If so, what did you think about them? I'd love to know. Even if you didn't like them, I'm still interested. And if you are excited about a potential book that you want to read for February, also let me know about that, because maybe it'll intrigue me and I'll want to put that book on my TBR too. So yeah, let me know anything you're excited about reading in the upcoming month, and watching too. If you've got anything that's thematic that you're looking forward to watching for thematic purposes or not, it doesn't really matter. Anything you're excited about, just let me know down below. And if you don't want to answer any of those questions, please just leave me, how about an orange heart emoji? Because I love the color orange. So if you made it this far and you don't want to answer any of that other stuff, an orange heart will let me know that you're here and that you enjoyed. So thank you guys so very much for watching. I really appreciate it. But as I said, for this time, that is it for me. Till next time, you know what you can do. Keep on killing it. Bye, guys.